So today I want to talk to you about something that's been bugging me on the 2020 census. And just to kind of level set things, in case you don't know what the census is, the United States determines, and it is in the Constitution, that every 10 years we do a count of everyone that is living in the United States. And so the U.S. Census Bureau is on a mission to count everyone that is here, whether you're documented or not, male, female, age doesn't matter, gender, you name it. We just want to count. And with the information that they receive from these questions and from this count, it impacts billions of federal dollars, and it impacts representation, redistricting, and many other things. And so this is an extremely important time, and it's very critical that everyone is counted for fair representation in regards to political voice as well as funding that communities need. So, in the 2020 census, and censuses before, there are questions around ethnicity and race. And there was a huge push in 2017 to combine the race and ethnicity question. In particular, here where I'm thinking around is the identification around Hispanic, Latino, Spanish ethnicity, combining it as one. Because what they had found was in past census counts that many of the individuals that identified as Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin did not know what to identify as, or did not feel that their race was identified in the race question. And so instead of choosing white, black, Asian, they would choose some other race and then many times just rewrite what they wrote in ethnicity. So if they checked off yes to the ethnicity question that they were of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin, and then they checked off Mexican, in the race question they would click and check off some other race and then write Mexican again, as an example. It was quite a huge difference. In particular, I was reading that in 2010, more than 43% of Latinos and Hispanics that were identified in the ethnicity question chose some other race. 43%. I mean, if you round up, it's almost half of the group was not seeing themselves in the other options. So there's a really big push to really combine it and recognize how people were seeing themselves. But it didn't happen. So still two different questions, and it's still confusing for many others. And it's really looking at standards that were developed by the Office of Management and Budget, and standards of how they define ethnicity and race that they've had established since 1997, which I think I was still in high school at that time. Let's just say that was quite some time ago. So needless to say, this is just something that is confusing for individuals that identify as that in the community, and I would say in my community. And I just feel like this is something that continues to provide data that is inaccurate. And as someone who is doing their part to make sure that every individual is counted and is seen as a census, there is also that part of me that is disappointed in knowing that our ethnicity and race is unclear and is skewed. I mean, there's nothing perfect, but this is a huge miss in how people identify themselves. And I think the census in general is finding a real huge struggle around race and ethnicity, and that many people that are identifying themselves how they see themselves, versus that the census was really developed as in a way of how others see them to some extent, because the race and ethnicity questions particularly impact how policymakers assess the different races in regards to what are they receiving and how are they being treated within our community, within our nation. So for example, around housing and employment and things like that, we could look at the statistics of the different race or ethnicity and seeing that those numbers, and seeing if we need to provide more bilingual education, for example, in particular areas. And so it's just messy. And on top of it, I was also looking to see if there were any movements out there trying to really unify the Hispanic, Latino, Spanish community as one, whether it was choosing one of those as like some other race and everyone choosing to write a particular, write Latinx, for example, is the latest thing being used as an identifier, or even just a push of stating to choose one of the races. For example, like American Indian, which in this 2020 census, I do want to note that it does give Aztec and Mayan as an option, which I think helps, especially those of Mexican and Central American ancestry, to feel that they might feel more connected to being part of the American Indian race, which they are, but it's another thing to feel like you identify, especially when you don't know your tribal roots. So it's just an issue, it's a pet peeve, but it's also holds a lot of political weight, and it's just frustrating that government moves really slow in trying to make the changes it needs to properly identify people as we continue to be more and more diverse and identify ourselves differently than when the census began. Either way, lots of money to your community. There's a lot of other great reasons to be counted. So thanks for listening. I'm Ms.Flores, and you are listening to Street Beat. Thanks.
Yeah, hey, yeah, hey.